Welcome back to Charted and Balanced. Today, we're going to be discussing one of the biggest economic stories of our lifetime, maybe even of all time. China's incredible journey from an isolated, kind of stagnant economy into a true global powerhouse. And this whole epic story starts with a number that is, well, it's almost too big to wrap your head around.
800 million. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That is the number of people that China lifted out of poverty in just a handful of decades. It's a truly staggering figure, and it really sets the stage for this story of unprecedented scale and ambition. This isn't just about stats, it's the human story behind all the economics. So you might be asking, how on earth does something like that even happen? Well, lifting 800 million people out of poverty is no accident. To really get it, we have to rewind the clock. Before this massive rise, China's economy was, for the most part, isolated, defined by rigid state control, which, led to widespread poverty and pretty low industrial output.
This timeline really pinpoints the critical moments. The first five-year plan back in the 50s, that was a start. But the real game changer, the moment everything shifted, was 1978, the Reform and Opening Up policy. That was the moment China basically decided to plug itself into the rest of the world. And that new direction got locked in for good when China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, cementing its role in the global economy.
A key tool in this whole new strategy was something called the Special Economic Zone, or SEZ. You can think of these as, well, they were like laboratories for capitalism. Cities like Shenzhen were totally transformed into these powerful magnets for foreign cash and new technology. These zones were the engines that really kickstarted China's incredible growth, creating a space where the market could just flourish. And with those economic engines firing on all cylinders, China harnessed its massive labor force and all these new policies to become, quite literally, the world's factory. This kicked off an era of explosive, export-driven growth that would completely change global manufacturing forever.
And the speed of it all was just breathtaking. For nearly 4 decades, China's economy grew at an average rate of 9.5% per year. I mean, just think about that. To sustain that kind of pace for so long is unlike almost anything we've seen in modern history. It just shows you the sheer velocity of this transformation. But, the story doesn't end with factories. Not at all. Over the last decade or so, we've been watching the second act unfold, a huge strategic pivot. China is no longer content just being the world's workshop. It's now aiming to be its research lab. We're talking about a move from assembly lines to artificial intelligence.
And this single leap, from making things on assembly lines to creating things in AI labs and EV factories, it's more than just an upgrade. It's a complete reinvention of its economic identity. It represents this massive, strategic climb up the global value chain, aiming for dominance in the technologies that are going to define our future.
And nothing, I mean nothing, embodies this ambition more than a company you've almost certainly heard of by now, BYD. What's so fascinating is what that name actually stands for: Build Your Dreams. That phrase, it just perfectly captures the whole mindset of China's new generation of global companies.
And man, did they build their dreams. By 2023, BYD, a company that started out making simple batteries, had overtaken Tesla as the world's #1 seller of electric vehicles. So what was their secret? It's a strategy called vertical integration. By making its own batteries, its own chips, BYD really showcases China's broader national strategy, this intense drive for technological self-reliance.
And it's not just about cars. On the AI front, you have players like DeepSeek. This AI model is already showing human-like reasoning and is directly challenging the dominance of American tech giants. It's being integrated super fast across the economy, which is a crystal clear sign of China's ambition to lead in what is arguably the defining technology of our century. This brings us to the third and final act, the official blueprint. See, none of this is happening by chance. It's all part of a calculated, state-driven plan to literally engineer the future and secure China's economic dominance for decades to come. The government's 14th five-year plan lays it all out, and it's focused on 4 core pillars. You see a huge push for leadership in AI and green energy, an expansion of global influence through these big infrastructure projects, and a very strong domestic focus on social stability and jobs. These are the key strategic bets for the country's future.
So, what does that AI Plus initiative actually look like on the ground? Well, it's basically a plan to systematically inject artificial intelligence into every single corner of the economy. We're talking smarter factories, super efficient logistics, totally revolutionized financial services, and even AI-powered governance. The end goal here is a fully intelligent economy.
Of course, any plan this ambitious is bound to run into some obstacles. I mean, for all its remarkable progress, China's path forward is not going to be a straight line. It faces some pretty significant challenges, both at home and from abroad, that are really going to test its resilience.
It all kind of boils down to this one core tension. On one hand, China's greatest strength is its relentless internal drive for innovation and self-reliance. But on the other hand, it's pushing against some powerful headwinds, like an aging population at home and really complex geopolitical rivalries abroad that could threaten its access to global markets. And this leaves us with the central question of this entire story. China's grand plan is all about building its own future, on its own terms. But in our deeply interconnected world, can any nation truly achieve self-reliance? And what does that quest really mean for the rest of us? It's a huge question to think about. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this. We'll see you in the next one. Bye!